So the plan for today is to get the rear suspension mocked up on our 1500 horsepower, 4-wheel drive, turbo big block Chevy drag truck chassis build. Can't quite call it a truck just yet because obviously this is just a frame, but rear suspension is the name of the game. Today I want to get that kind of mocked up. We are in a holding pattern for the front suspension because I have some laser cut parts that have been ordered on the way. That'll take care of, you know, the upper coil over mount and a few other odds and ends that we're kind of tweaking here. So anyway, we're in a holding pattern for the front. Today I'm going to knock out the rear, but first, as you can see, we have the blue Mustang in the shop. It's kind of like my sometimes daily driver slash fun project slash distraction from actually making progress on the drag truck. But anyway, it's raining outside and I have a misfire that I want to take care of because I like to drive the car. It is kind of fun. So anyway, let me get that knocked out really quick. We're going to do some ignition stuff. And then we'll get to the fun stuff on the drag truck. Got some really cool parts to show you. We are doing things a little bit differently than how I originally planned and thought I was going to do it. But regardless, can't wait to show you that. We got some really cool parts after we get our homework done with a blue car. As you can see, we do not have a ton of room in this shop. I need a bigger shop in the worst way, and I've said that this is the year that it's going to happen, so I've got my fingers crossed.
The bad part about this is we have no DTCs, we have no check engine light, and the misfire monitor will not pick up anything. So we're kind of going blind here. Taking the old shotgun approach. So last time chasing this misfire, I put a new set of plugs in. I suspected maybe it was the coils, but first I'm going to try replacing these coil boots and the little wire thingies on the inside. Don't know if it's going to actually work or not, but I don't want to put a whole new set of coils in it just yet. So I guess the theory is that these old boots, they can kind of like crack and stuff, causing it to short out. These, I don't know. This is probably going to do nothing, but what the heck.
So I just noticed there is a tiny bit of like green nasty corrosion in there. Certainly can't help things at all. I'm not sure if it's the cause of the misfire or anything, but I'll just kind of give it a little scraper-rooney. Put it back together. You guys ask a lot about this thing. This is a Sure Shot sprayer with basically brake clean in it. I just buy it by the bulk, you know, 5-gallon containers. And it seems to be cheaper than, you know, buying the aerosol cans like at O'Reilly's. And we just got some little cheapo plug boot wire things from AutoZone. So, get in the zone, yeah. Simple as that, maybe. Alright, I know I said this last time, but I think the misfire is fixed. Whatever I did, disturbing the coils, removing them, putting them back in place, both last time and this time, at least temporarily stopped the problem. I don't know if it's like the final fix, but it definitely is related. So, I don't know, it might need new coils still, I don't know. They're, as far as I can tell, they're the original Ford coils, which at this point are like 20 years old. They all have Ford part numbers on them at least. So I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it. I'll definitely keep you guys updated, but maybe it fixed it. I don't know. Yeah, because there's a quick little, you know, full throttle test in second gear, and before, if you stepped on it all the way, it would just kind of like fall on its face and
Who knows? Let's get back to work.
Well, the truth of the matter is I'll probably have the Mustang back in the shop next week with another ignition related misfire, because my original hunch told me that it was the coils. Who knows? Maybe we did fix it. Maybe the little plug boots and wire things, maybe that was the problem. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, the Mustang runs great now. Let's talk about rear suspension. Originally on the UglyTruck drag project, I was thinking about running a adjustable drag style 4-link. You've probably seen them before. You know, I was looking at the ones by Tin Soldier race cars, and they're a beautiful piece. There's tons of adjustment. You know, you can change the anti-squat, the instant center, basically all the different ways that the chassis would react when you hit it at the line. You know, some guys want the rear end to separate, some guys want it to squat. You can tune that all in with a 4-link. But after talking to a couple different people who actually drag race these 4-wheel drive trucks, I kind of changed my mind. A 4-link would probably work great, don't get me wrong, but I wanted something a little bit simpler. I decided to go with a leaf spring, but not the regular stock leaf. We're going with a Calvert Racing split monoleaf. Now, a lot of guys use these also. They're really great at what they do. And it's kind of an interesting design, because instead of a single leaf spring front to back, there's a front half and a back half. They overlap in the middle. I think the reason they do that maybe is because you can put a different spring rate, say on the front half versus the back, which will help tune something. I'm not entirely familiar with how these work or the theory behind them, but I just know that a lot of people love them and they do work. They're not designed for towing. This won't work on a heavy duty truck or anything like that. They are designed to work with the Calvert traction bars, which I already do have. And you can mount these using the rear hanger in a traditional shackle if you want. But instead, another thing people turned me on to were spring sliders. So these are made by Funkhouser race cars. These are beautiful, by the way, like TIG welded. That's the slider there. So basically there'll be like a bearing on the rear spring mount, and when the spring compresses, it'll get longer and shorter in a straight line rather than pivoting like with a shackle. So that's the slider. These are the brackets they have to mount them on the frame. Another really, really nice looking piece. So that's going to hold the axle. And then we also have in that box there, also from Funkhouser, a rear anti-roll bar, which, as you launch, the chassis naturally wants to twist. That'll help fight some of that. Also not here, but on the way, we have a new rear axle. We're not going to be running a 10-bolt with the 1500 horsepower big block. It's bigger, it's stronger, it's beefier, it's gonna have great axles in it, like a 9-inch style housing end, so no C-clips in this axle. I'll show you it when it gets here. So our rear end won't be done today, but we can at least get the springs mocked up in the sliders and maybe the anti-roll bar, we'll see. And then one more thing that's on the way, but not here, is a rear-mounted fuel tank, and that'll require some more surgery back here. But anyway, let's get to work. Let's get these springs on the truck. So the new Funkhouser sliders will actually bolt to the frame in place of the shackle hanger. So all I gotta do is cut those couple of rivets, bolt them on. All right, so last thing I'm gonna do is trim the end of that cross member off because the brackets fit flush against the frame. So I'll trim that real quick, which that's okay because that is getting redone for the fuel tank. So these two upper holes on the frame side are a little bit narrower than the bracket, so I'm just going to get this marked real quick and then open them up with a die grinder. Not a big deal at all. All right, so the split monoleafs come with these little urethane bushings on the back end. We need to replace these with these aluminum bushings that come with the spring sliders. Of course, because these are designed for Caltracs, they already have the aluminum slug up front that they need. So just gonna do a switcheroo here, and we'll be good to go. There's one half in. Just like that, gonna slide back and forth. Yeah, I'll wake you up. All right, got two more boxes. This one's from Calvert. I forget, but I think these are spring purchase. Oh yeah, adjustment wrenches for Caltracs. Those are handy. And axle purchase. Box number 2 is from Funkhouser again. Got a really cool hardware kit. Billet steel end links. Yeah, this is the anti-roll bar. These are the end link materials. Ooh, and some pivots. Fancy. Oh, and I also forgot, ordered this forever ago. C-notch kit. So there you go, we got the makings of a proper drag race style rear suspension, and I am really pumped right now. I feel like we've made decent progress, but then when I look at the big picture, it still does get a little bit overwhelming for all the stuff that we have left to do. But that's my recipe that we're using today. We have the Funkhouser anti-roll bar out back. This is really cool. Got like the billet steel ends there. You got some billet aluminum pivots. That material there is going to be for like the end links. We've got some rod ends there and all the little brackets and hardware that we need. So that's a pretty cool setup. I've never used Funkhouser stuff before, but seeing it today in person, really top-notch quality. The C-notch, that's pretty straightforward. Same exact one I used on the UglyTruck last spring. That'll just give us a little bit more room. Out back, I wanted to talk about a few things, I guess. The spring now is mounted about 6 inches lower than it would be on the truck right now. These are adjustable. You can move this thing up if you want, but The axle is going to be sitting on top of the spring like it is now, but this is actually going to lift the rear of the truck about 3 inches. Plus, these springs actually might lift it from where I am at right now, just because my original leaves are old and worn out and there's no overload on there. So if my estimation is correct, this ought to be about 3 or 4 inches higher out back than the truck is right now, which is kind of what I'm shooting for. And then of course up front, we can match whatever ride height that the back is going to be. And then also try to take into consideration the CV angles. That's kind of the most important thing, is ride height is just for looks, but the CV angles, I want them to be at a certain place for strength. So that's kind of what we're shooting for. I'm really excited now. I do want to talk about some plans moving forward for the rear end of the frame, just to give you guys an idea of what we're going to be doing. I have a rear mounted fuel tank on the way that's going to fit sort of in between these two cross members. This back one needs to be replaced with a straight section of tube instead of that funky kink. This one will have to be moved ahead because I think he said, I did get like the extended capacity tank, and I think it's like 15 inches. So right now on center, we got like 12 inches in between the two. So I'm gonna have to move this guy ahead. Whenever I do that, I'm gonna replicate the factory style going through both halves of the frame. I'll have like a little doubler plate. And then of course I'll patch this in, you know, TIG weld it nice and smooth it so you never know that that hole was there. If you guys have seen my stuff, you know that I love factory appearing stuff. Like I could put a rectangle piece of steel back in here. Structurally, it would be just fine. But I like the fact that the factory used these round tubes, and that's what I'm going to try to mimic. This one here I'll probably replace as well. I just don't like, I mean, I could cut the shock things off and the exhaust hangers and the fuel tank bracket, but I'd rather just replace it with a straight shot of tube. This one possibly can stay where it is, but I might have to add another small tubular cross member for the anti-roll bar mounts. And then even this one here, like I'm not crazy about it. I could, I don't know, we'll think about it. Like every single thing that I want to change adds time, but when you're OCD, sometimes you just have to do stuff even though it doesn't make sense. And that's what I specialize in, is just doing things that most people are like, that's ridiculous, that's stupid, why would you waste your time on it? But that little voice in the back of my head says, just do it, because to me, it's like, I don't know, it's satisfying in the long run to do something as best as you can. And, you know, even though this is a chassis, like cosmetically, I want it to look like it's well put together. So that's my mindset anyway. Motor mounts, I think I mentioned those last time. We need to lower the front of the motor, but Richard from Atomic actually reached out to me after he saw the video, and he said, hey, I'm actually coming up with a dropped motor mount set, and he said he's going to build me a new set, so I don't have to do really any fabrication to get this 8.1 mounted other than relocating that guy right there. That's still going to have to be done, but basically he's going to save me a lot of time from having to redesign this stuff to drop the motor. Laser cut parts, those will be here probably by the end of this week. That'll allow me to get my shock towers and all that good stuff on. Still need to modify this side control arms. Like, we got a mile-long list of stuff we got to do, but I'm really pumped because I'm starting to see progress. We're getting close to having this thing being a roller. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Come back soon.